Hello friends, now we are going to start my new video which is on another chapter of science and NCERT book, which is on the chapter 3, fiber to fabric. And this time we'll not be able to complete the whole chapter again like the previous chapter 2 that we have done earlier, because this chapter has 8 pages and every page is a little bit longer, so we'll do only 4 pages. And let's start. So this is the first page, and many of you who are new, I'm going to tell that I also answer these questions which are not answered in the NCERT. So let's start. Paheli and Boju won the first prize in a science quiz competition held at their school. They were very excited and decided to use the prize money to buy clothes for their parents. When they saw a large variety of cloth material, they got confused. Figure 3.1. This figure here shows the variety of clothes they found. The shopkeeper explained that some clothes or fabrics were cotton and some were synthetic. He also had woolen mufflers and shawls. There were many silk saris as well. Paheli and Bhoju felt very excited. They touched and felt these different fabrics. Finally, they bought a woolen muffler and a cotton sari. I don't know why they bought a woolen muffler if it is not winters, and a cotton sari if it is not summers. No, the seasons are not very well written, because cotton is weared in summer and woolen are weared in winters, so nonsense. After their visit to their clothes shop, Paheli and Bhoju began to notice various fabrics in their surroundings. They found that the bed sheets, blankets, curtains, tablecloths, towels, and dusters were made from different kinds of fabrics. Even their school bags and the gunny bags were made from some kind of fabric. They tried to identify these fabrics as cotton, wool, silk, or synthetic. Can you also identify some fabrics? So, the synthetic here means that man-made fibers, fabric basically, because they are made by man, so they are man-made and synthetic. Cotton, wool, and etc. silk, you have already read in previous classes, so no need to explain. Variety in fabrics, and can you also identify some fabrics? This is your task which you can do. There is nothing to explain in this. In future classes you can learn that there is other hybrids of cotton and wool, which I should not explain or you will get confused. Variety in fabrics. Activity 1. More activities which I don't like. Visit a nearby tailoring shop. Collect cuttings of fabric left over after stitching. Feel and touch each piece of fabric. Now try to label some of the fabrics as cotton, silk, wool, or synthetic after asking for help from the tailor. So this is an activity which you can do, but you can just find all these cloths at your home, because there is a lot of fabric material found at home. So there is no need to go to the tailing shop. Do you wonder what these different fabrics are made of? Yes, they are made of fibers. When do you look at any fabric, it seems a continuous piece. Now look at it closely. What do you find? And notice 3.2. So enlarged view of a piece of fabric. So as you can see, a fabric is made up of lines. These lines, which are in a grid pattern, like some are horizontal and some are vertical, cutting them into like a maths copy setup. So as you can see here, these single lines, the one from the top end to the bottom and one from the side to the other side, is one thread, the one line. A single line is a single thread, and as you can see, there are many. If you can just count, I would not recommend to count. So our fabric is basically made up of fibers. Activity 2. Select a piece of cotton fabric you labeled in activity 1. Now try to find a loose thread or yarn at one of the edges and pull it out. If you now the sentence is breaked up, so let's just read that if no loose. Okay, so let's keep it in mind. Figure 3.3, which is also on next page. So this one fiber is called a yarn. So a yarn and a fiber are the same thing. Don't think that they are different things. So let's move on. If no loose yarns are visible, you can gently pull one out with a pin or needle. So if you can't see something broken, so you just break it. The NCERT just teaches us this. Pulling a thread from a fabric, this is what you have to do. You can easily do this because many of the like the winter, we can say, blankets have furs coming out of them, and these threads we can easily pull out of. So you can see that, or old cloth which is just battered and very torn. We find that a fabric is made up of yarns arranged together. What are these yarns made up of? So a yarn fiber, which is the same. Take out a yarn from a piece of cotton fabric. Place the piece of yarn on the table. Now press the end of the yarn with your thumb. Scratch out the another end of the yarn along its length with your nail as shown. Do you find that at the end the yarn splits into thin strands? The 3.4 shows the splitting of yarn into strands, thin strands. So these yarns you can see from a thread. You might have observed something similar when you try to thread a needle. Yes, that's the most difficult thing you can do on the earth. Many a time, the end of the thread is separated into a few thin strands. This makes it difficult to pass the thread through the eye of the needle. Yes, the most difficult thing that I told. The thin strands of a thread that we see are made up of still thinner strands called fibers. So as I said, fibers and yarns are basically same because yarns are made up of fibers. Just fibers are the smaller version of yarns. So if you think, I can explain it as India is a country inside Asia. So we are comparing India to the fiber and Asia as the yarn and the whole earth as the fabric. And you can further compare the whole solar system as a cloth, like a shirt. Yes, and the galaxy as a uniform. You can just compare it with a clothes shop to our universe. Yes. Let's get on the topic. Fabrics are made up of yarns, and yarns are further made up of fibers. Where do these fibers come from? The fibers of some fabrics such as cotton, jute, silk and wool are obtained from the plants and animals. These are called natural fibers. So as you have read this in earlier classes, this was a very hard topic as you have to remember the plant names, but now it is very simple and it would be more tougher in other classes, the further classes. So these fibers that we obtain from plants, which is cotton, and the animals, which are the silk, wool and other things. Basically silk and wool. Cotton is from plants. These are called natural fibers, not fibers. Fibers is not a word. Cotton and jute are examples of fibers obtained from a plant. Wool and silk fibers are obtained from animals. Wool is obtained from a fleece of sheep or goat. It is also obtained from the hair of rabbits, yak, and camels. So, wool is obtainable from many animals, whereas silk is from only silkworm. Silk fiber is drawn from the cocoon of a silkworm. And don't think that the cocoon is not alive, so we are not killing the silkworm. You will further read in this chapter that we kill the silkworm for the cocoon. For thousands of years, natural fibers were the only ones available for making fabrics. In the last 100 years or so, fabrics are also made with chemicals. So now these days chemicals are used to make fabrics, as we have done expertise in chemicals and we have lots of chemicals. Boju has seen in the museums items like the one shown here. These were worn by warriors. He wants to know if these are made of some kinds of fabric. No, they are not made of fabric. If they were made of fabric, then it would be easily tearable and it would be useless. These are made up of chains and it's called a chainmail armor, not a Minecraft one. It is a chainmail armor which is used by soldiers to protect their chest and their back so that no one just attacks them with a sword and they get less damage because the chain protects them from getting direct hit to their skin. So let's move on. Substances which are not obtained from a plant or animal sources, these are called synthetic fibers. So the artificial fibers or synthetic fibers are the same. Artificial fiber is thus the another name of synthetic fiber. Some examples of synthetic fibers are polyester, nylon, and acrylic. Some plant fibers. So these are examples. These are just simple examples. You need to just learn them and just understand they are synthetic fibers. Don't write them as natural if you if an occurs in the exam. Some plant fibers. Cotton. Have you ever made wicks of oil lamps? What do you use for making these wicks? Yes, I have made one and we use cotton to make this. This cotton wool is also used for making filling mattresses, quilts or pillows. So the fluffy pillows you have are filled with cotton, a lot of cotton. These fields are a lot of cotton. So that's why we use mostly cotton to fill up these mattresses that we sleep on and the pillows on which we sleep on. Take some cotton wool, pull it apart and look at its edges. What do you observe? The small thin strands that you see are made up of cotton fibers. Where does this cotton wool come from? It is grown in the fields. Cotton plants are usually grown at places having black soil and warm climate. So a cotton plant needs lots of black soil and a warm climate. It should be humid and warm climate. It needs a good amount of water. Can you name some states in our country where cotton is grown? The fruits of the cotton plant, cotton balls. These are called balls, not a balls, that is a football or a basketball. This is a balls. It has a different spelling. So understand that. Are about the size of a lemon. So a singular cotton ball is like a small lemon. So it is very small, not the smallest, but after maturing, the balls burst open and the seeds covered with cotton fibers can be seen. Have you ever seen a cotton field that is ready for picking? It looks like a field covered with snow. Yes, as the snow is fluffy as like cotton, just not an old snow, the new snow that is falling just now is like cotton. It is just fluffy and everywhere. The cotton field looks like the same, and no, I have not seen a cotton field till now. 3.6 shows a field of cotton. From these balls, cotton is usually picked by hand. Fibers are then separated from the seeds by combing. This process is called ginning of cotton. So these balls, when they are matured, they are picked by hand. We need to just cut them off their stem and just pick them up from hand. And this is also done from a comb. It makes the thing easier. Just place it on top of the plant and it just picks up, or we can say tucks all the cotton balls inside it as they just stick to the comb. So because of this, the cotton comes out easily and it is a very faster way than picking the 1,000 of thousands of cotton balls of all the plants. Ginning was traditionally done by hand. These days, machines are also used for ginning. So many people have built machines, several machines. This automatically use the comb-like structure, and the old process that we have done by hand, just doing it by machine, which is more faster, much faster, and it is also very human efficient. We don't need many people to pick up a field which is 1,000 meter square. These days, jute jute fiber is obtained from the stem of the jute plant. The figure 3.8. This figure, this long plant, is a jute plant. It is cultivated during the rainy season in India. Jute is mainly grown in the West Bengal, Bihar, and Assam, in the wet regions of India. So it is a very wetty plant. It needs a lot of water. The jute plant is normally harvested when it is at the stage of flowering stage. It is at the flowering stage. So when there is a flower coming out of the stem, we just break the whole plant, just cut it off from its roots, and just use the root, not the root, the stem for the ropes and jute as a thing. Jute fiber. The stems of the harvested plants are immersed in water for a few days. The stems rot and the fibers are separated by hand. So when we just throw a thing into the dustbin, which is a wet waste, it just rots. It just smells a lot. But this stem, when it rots, the fibers separate in the stem, and this is then collected by hand. So it is a method of getting fibers of jute from a plant. Next page. To make fabrics, all these fibers are first converted into yarns. How is it done? So now we learn how the fibers are just spinned into yarns. So let's just read this, and this would be the last page. You can try making cotton yarn yourself. Activity 4. So we are now going to make a cotton yarn, which is again very tough, I think. Hold some cotton wool and in one hand, pinch some cotton between the thumb and the forefinger, and of the other hand. Now gently start pulling out the cotton while continuously twisting the fibers. Figure 3.9. So this, they are going to make a thread of cotton. Just we needs a lot of cotton. It needs a lot of cotton fiber. Are you able to make the yarn? Yes. Just if you just somewhat wet it, just put some water on it so it sticks properly, and twist it not a lot, just a little bit, not so little that it opens, or not so hard that it just opens off its force. The process of making yarn from fibers is called spinning. In this process, fibers from a mass of cotton wool are drawn out and twisted. This brings the fibers together to form a yarn. So just spinning the fiber makes the yarn. So this process is called spinning. It's an important word. A simple device is used for spinning in a hand. Spindle. Spindle is also called tuckly. Very funny name. 3.10. This long needle is tuckly or spindle. Another hand-operated device used for spinning is chakra. Figure 3.11. Use of chakra was popularized by Mahatma Gandhi as part of the independence movement. He encouraged people to wear the clothes made of homespun yarn termed as khadi, and spun imported cloth, and shun imported cloth made in the mills of Britain. To popularize and promote khadi, the government of India constituted a body called Khadi and Village Industries Commission in 1956. So this thing is important. It is related to history of our country, and the most important here is that this movement was popularized by Mahatma Gandhi ji. Now I can't see my mouse.
One eternity later.
So this thing is important as Mahatma Gandhi popularized this as chakra is one of the most used, we can say it, device used by hand, and this is the one of the most popular devices used for making fiber into yarn, and this is called the chakra, and it is most popularized in India only as it was made popular by Mahatma Gandhi. So now we take the next. Spinning of yarn on a large scale is done with the help of spinning machines. After spinning yarns, After spinning, yarns are used for making fabrics. If we need a large amount of yarn to make a large amount of fabric, we need a large amount of spinning speed. If a chakra is spun by a human, it would be slow and time consuming. So it needs a lot of time. But to just improve the time speed, we made machines, yarn to fabric. There are many ways by which fabrics are made from yarn. The two main processes are weaving and knitting. So this tells that there are two ways to just convert a yarn into a fabric. So first of them is weaving. The second of them is knitting. In weaving, we just you might have noticed that a fabric is made up of two sets of yarns arranged together. The process of arranging two sets of yarns together to make a fabric is called a weaving. Let us try to weave some paper strips. Okay, now there is another activity in which we try to weave the paper strips. So let's just not do this activity today as we are already over time, and also let's do this in another video, the part 2 of this chapter. And so if you enjoyed my video, so please like it, and if you just subscribe, that would be very fabricastic. So please subscribe, and it helps a lot to me. So please subscribe. Have a nice day. Until you subscribe.